go to film school. Bring in my real good friend, Joe Fortunato, film study professor, on board with us this morning. And it is the bewitching season, and Joe certainly has that in mind today. Mr. Fortunato, take it from there, my friend.
Well, good morning, Ray. Good morning, everybody. And you're exactly right, Ray. We are celebrating the Halloween weekend in an upcoming week by doing a scary little film called The Blair Witch Project from 1999, released July 30th, 1999, directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez, starring unknowns then and now, Heather Donahue, Joshua Leonard, and Michael C. Williams. And this film is, well, let me just say, for those who don't know, because it's not maybe the most well-known film by audiences, three film students go traveling into the Maryland forest to film a documentary about this local Blair Witch legend, only to be lost and never found again. And then we find the footage that they left behind, and that's what comprises the movie. And as I sort of intoned, today's segment is not so much about the greatness of the movie, although it certainly has its fans, but the uniqueness of this film in Hollywood history. And it's unique on several levels. One, it wasn't the first film to use the found footage theme, but it certainly popularized that. And then there was a slew of films after the Blair Witch Project that started using found footage as its sort of basis. It was the 10th highest grossing film in the United States in 1999. And one of the things that's unique about it is its return on investment. And that is it holds it did at the time hold the record for the top budget to box office ratio for a mainstream feature film, meaning the film only cost $60,000 to make, which is a pittance in movie costs, and it earned back almost $250 million. So that's a ratio of $1 spent to $11,000 made. Now, kind of fun fact, the film that it beat out for that record was the adult film Deep Throat from the early 70s. And the current winner is one of its sort of progeny is Paranormal Activity, which is also a found footage type theme. It was also it had the record at the time for the highest grossing independent movie of all time, until that was surpassed in the 2000s by My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which was a very popular film. It was also one of the first films, or maybe the first film, that was widely released marketing primarily by the internet. Of course, the internet was brand new at the time, and the internet site was created almost a year before the film, and it spawned this belief that this was a true story. And it kind of said, hey, there's this true story about the Blair Witch, and here's these students that got lost in the woods and never found again. And it kind of presented it as a true thing, and people either bought into the hoax or believed it as true. And so that was another unique thing. USA Today kind of said that it was one of the first films to go viral, despite that not really being a thing at the time. We didn't use that word, and frankly, there wasn't as much technology like there is today. So that's some of the uniqueness of this film, is its place in film history, because of the way it was marketed, the way the found footage aspect, and the fact that it was such a return on investment for so little money to become this bona fide hit.
Joe, I remember going back to the time when this thing was released and seeing it for the first time. And you got to prepare for it, right, Joe? And I think that's what you were talking about with the found film footage theme, because basically you're seeing this movie through the eyes of a video recorder. So it's herky-jerky, it's around. And I remember seeing the theater and going, oh, my gosh, I'm getting sick watching this thing. But then other movies started to do the same thing. But you have to be prepared for that, because that is the theme of the whole movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're exactly right. And there were people, and I remember this phenomenon. It didn't happen to me, but there were theater goers, many of them, who experienced nausea with the handheld camera movements and had to leave to vomit. In one Toronto theater, the ushers asked patrons who were prone to motion sickness to sit on the aisle seat and try not to throw up on other people. So that was something that the theaters themselves cautioned against. Just sort of some fun facts,
Sure.
Talk about a low budget movie. One of the things that they did, one of the video cameras that was used, by the actors was bought at Circuit City after the filming was complete. The producers returned the camera for a refund, making their budget movie even go further. And to promote discord between the actors, the directors deliberately gave them less food each day of shooting, so they got crankier and crankier. And it took 8 days to shoot, took almost a year to edit, so it was a lot longer in terms of that. And one of the most expensive few seconds of the film is where they're sitting around a campfire and one of the characters is singing the Gilligan's Island theme, and it was expensive to get the rights to that song. So it's kind of crazy how this is really the definition of what we call guerrilla filmmaking, in terms of the budget and stuff. The famous close-up of Heather Donahue's face as she's taping this farewell video, and she's kind of got snot in her nose and everything, and it's a very often parodied scene. That was an accident. She was planning to have her whole face in the frame, but she zoomed the camera in too much, and the directors thought that closeness and all the tears and everything really added to sort of the ugly realism, and they kept it in. And it was, the ending, and I won't spoil the ending, you kind of have to experience anyway. Very scary, very shocking. But there was actually 4 different endings shot for the release, and they all occurred in the basement. I'll give that part away. But and so there was a lot of discussion of how to end the film. All of those endings appear on the Blu-ray release as special features. So if you're into that sort of thing, that's something you can check out.
It's a good choice, Joe, because it's that time of year. People like to be scared and ghouled and everything, and it's one of the most unique, I think, scare/horror movies of all time. When you talk about the Blair Witch Project, that really caught us all by storm, and Joe is absolutely correct. There was many, including me at first, thought this was the real thing until you found out that it was a movie. Well done, Joe. Again, the Blair Witch Project. Joe, one other thing on horror movies. This date, I find this interesting. This date, 1979, Halloween released. Hard to believe that franchise has gone well into the 2000s. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, started in the first one, but that one released way back in the 70s on this date in history.
Yeah, well, I say that every week when we go back to film school, right? Hard to believe this movie is XYZ old. We definitely have that. And before you know it, it's going to be the holiday season. And in honor of that, we are going to do a live version of Fortunato Film School featuring the movie Die Hard, which many argue is a Christmas movie. So we will debate that on December 7th at Jilly's. Jilly's Fabulous Brunch. And when we do our film school, the brunch will start at 11. The film will start at 12 noon. Again, that's December 7th. And for those who don't know, when we do the film school, Ray and I will talk for a few moments, sort of introduce the film, tell a few stories. Then we will watch the film together, and I will do live commentary, pointing out some production stories, trivia, movie mistakes we see on screen. It's a lot of fun and educational. If you've never seen Die Hard, you don't need to see it to enjoy. If you have seen Die Hard, and I'm assuming many of you have, this is a fun way to dive deeper and learn a little bit more about it. And then we'll have a little discussion afterwards for those who want to. It's a lot of fun. We don't do it all that often, so you want to get your tickets right away. And it is reserved seating. So the earlier you get your tickets, the better choice of seats, so you can sit exactly where you want. You can get your tickets by going on Facebook and looking up Fortunato Film School, Ohio, or you can go to Jilly's website on the calendar, and it will link you to the tickets. Tickets are only $5, and if you buy brunch, they apply that $5 to your brunch. So essentially, the movie's free.
Yeah, and it's fun too. And Joe is right. Get your reserved table now. Right, Joe? Jaws was packed. There was no room left in there for folks. We've slowly built up this audience. Joe does a fantastic job of diving in to these movies with a behind-the-scenes story. I get up with them before, I get up with them behind, but basically it's Joe's play-by-play of the movies. He does a fantastic job. This is what he does for a living. When we do it on Fridays, it's really just scratching the surface of what he does. It's fantastic. Get your tickets now. See you on December 7th. Joe, my friend, I'll see you again next Friday, my friend. Thanks for the time.
I look forward to it, Ray. See you, everybody.